Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I'm going to be planting some daffodil bulbs and some allium bulbs. Alliums are flowering onions. Both of these are deer resistant, so I figured I'd combine them into the same video. Not much of a difference in planting them. Most bulbs are going to want well-drained soil, and so a place where they're not going to sit in water. Both of these are going to require as much sun as possible because the foliage that's on them, obviously we're growing them for flowers, but the foliage that's on them is going to need some sunlight in the spring to rebuild the energy so that the following year they can bloom for you again. Alliums, most of the alliums, the flowering onions, are hardy in zones like 3 to 8. So lots of you watching can grow those. They do require a little more winter treatment, so not as far south as daffodils. Daffodils, most everybody watching can grow. They require very little cold treatment, meaning it doesn't have to get that cold in the winter for them to come back every year. I think just south, very, very South Florida and some parts of the Southwest are the only people that aren't going to be able to grow daffodils. Daffodils are super, super easy. And I find alliums to be really easy too, as long as it's not in a space that's wet. They're pretty reliable coming back every year. Lots of techniques for planting bulbs. And I have a playlist on my channel that I'll link up here in the corner called Bulbs that is all the bulb videos I've ever done. If there are particular questions you have on bulbs, it's probably been answered in that playlist at some point. I have the drill bit that you'll see many people using to plant flowering bulbs this time of year. Works very, very well for quickly drilling a hole so that you can drop the bulb in very quickly. Of course, you can just use a shovel. You don't have to invest in any kind of special tool. You can use a trowel as long as the soil's been worked a little bit. It's kind of hard and very compacted soil to use a little hand trowel, but it's probably workable if you had to. And then for these daffodils right here, I'm going to use this Pro Plugger right here, which I've shown on the channel many times. It basically digs a plug out of the ground by stepping on it, and then it will store the plugs in the tube, and then I flip the tube over and all the plugs slide out of it. You'll see that in just a minute. But I want to plant these probably about 3 times the height. So these are about 2 inches tall. These are good size. This is a good size bulb. This variety is called Avalanche. It's one of the multi-flowering ones that gets multiple flowers on the same plant, on the same stem. So it'll have about 10 flowers on the same stem. I'm going to pull this mulch back, and so you're going to see how quick and easy this is. I do have some drip irrigation line underneath here. These big daffodil bulbs like this, I'll probably put about 6 inches apart. That's about, you could go a little wider than that, but I actually want to crowd them a little bit. Daffodils will crowd themselves out over time, producing little extra bulblets on the side. I divided a bunch this year in middle summer. Typically we're going to plant these bulbs in the fall, which I'm kind of late fall right this minute, which is fine. But I find that I can dig them up anytime and divide them and replant them and really not have any problem with them as long as the soil is workable. But you'll see this Pro Plugger right here will just go down 6 inches pretty easy, just like that. And I can pull that right out and not cut my irrigation line right there. Do it again right there. Trying not to make these straight lines. I do not want to put the bulbs in perfectly straight lines. It doesn't look natural when they come up, so being as random as possible here. So there we go. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes. I'm going to bring the camera closer and just show you how I drop these daffodils in. Here's first of all, here's the soil that just came out of those holes. So here's one of these Avalanche daffodil bulbs. Look how perfect the hole that actually created for that. It just goes down in there perfect. Make sure the pointy end is up. And moving on to the next one. Quick and easy. These the soil that I got from the Pro Plugger, I just break up just like this and tamp it down lightly on top of them, just like that. Quick and easy. And then I'm going to put my mulch back over the top of this, just like this. And then I'm going to water that in, and I'm done. I'm not fertilizing them. I fertilize everything in this yard with a slow release fertilizer in the spring, and that will be after these daffodils have bloomed. So I'll fertilize them after they've bloomed while the green growth is still here. Very important after your daffodils bloom that you don't cut that green growth off. Leave the grassy looking plant there, let it fade on its own. Once it started to fade, you can cut it back at that point. But like I say, this is pretty quick and easy. I mean, I can any spot that this thing will go down in, I can very quickly dig holes for them. You can see that. I've got some Persian blue alliums here. There's just 6 of them in this bag, and this is a small one. Some alliums need as much as 1 square foot each. I planted some of those in a video last year. If you want to go back and look at that video, this particular bulb, I'll open them up here, is super small. Right here, okay, you can see the end where the roots come out on them, okay. Alliums sometimes may not be quite as easy to tell, but that's where the new growth is going to come from. That's where the roots were on them last year. So that part's going to go down. These bulbs are so small that I'm actually going to put 2 of them in each hole. And so there's only 6 in this bag, and so and I don't need them that deep either. Maybe two or 3 times the height of the bulb there. Maybe almost too deep. Again, quick and easy with this Pro Plugger. I'm going to be planting some other bulbs in the other videos. I just let that fall right in, but it's easy to get it back out. I'm going to be using the drill in some of the other bulb planting videos I have coming up as well. I just wanted to show you this technique with the Pro Plugger. But again, I'm putting the root in down on these. I'm just going to put 2 in each hole. Easy peasy. You'll get some little side bulblets, little pieces like this, and I'll go ahead and stick those in as well. They will come up. So this is only for these tiny little alliums that I would put 2 in a hole like this. Anything bigger than this, they'll be individual, and like I say, they're mammoth allium bulbs that you actually need to use some more space. I am marking. I've got white tags for every bulb I'm planting here, so I got a lot of planting to do this winter, and I don't want to be digging up the bulbs that I just planted, and I'm putting bulbs all over the place. So again, raking this mulch back in here, probably 2 or 3 inches of mulch total. And so they're ready to go. They want nothing. I'm going to water them one time. That's it. They'll be fine. Definitely don't want to drown them. It'd be easy to do with these alliums. And they'll end up fertilized as part of my just overall general fertilization of this yard in the spring next year. So I'll show you one other daffodil variety. I've got one here called Early Bride that I got discounted late in the season. They're still in good shape. This is one thing if you're still buying bulbs at this point. They've been out of the ground for a long time at this point if they're in retail places. Give them a little bit of a squeeze. Don't overdo it, but if you can feel any soft spots in them, they've gone bad. These are in good shape, so not worried about them. They are smaller than those other daffodils by far. Heck, one of those other ones was the size of these 3. Let me see, there's 6 in this bag. I'm still going to put these about 6 inches apart. Daffodils spread quite a bit, pretty quickly. So again, I'm just pulling my mulch back and trying not to cut my irrigation. It's the pointy end up in the hole, and all these bulbs seem like they're in good shape. That one's a little deep, I think. Put the tag in the ground about in the middle of the group, so I remember what it was. right there. Let's do one more group of alliums and then we'll wrap this up. So I have a slightly larger flowering onion here, or allium. Again, roots are on the bottom right there. There's the point, I always say the pointy end up, but on alliums it's not always. The more pointy end is actually the roots on these sometimes. So, but you will be able to see where the roots were. So they're in the ground, remulched. I'm marking the space to make sure I don't plant anything over the top of them here. And that's it. Again, just repeating the same process. The depth sometimes will depend on the size of the bulb and the spacing more than anything. If they're little teeny tiny bulbs on these alliums, I'll plant them pretty close together. And if they're the big giant ones, they would probably get 1 square foot each. The daffodils I always put about 6 inches apart. 6 to 12 is the recommended amount because they do spread in time. I'm just way more impatient than that, and I want them kind of look full the very first year they come up, and those are good size bulbs over there. But that's pretty much, again, my technique. Again, you want to go through that bulb playlist if you want to look for other information on planting bulbs. I've got crocus, hyacinths, and lots of tulips and just lots of other bulbs, scilla and all kinds of bulbs going in over the next week or so. So make sure you subscribe to the channel to see how those go in the ground. Thanks for watching.